Yeah. Hello, everybody. Thank you for coming. Welcome to Image Builder Office Hours. It's the 10th of March. We do this every 2 weeks on Mondays. Um, as you're probably well aware, we are a sub-project of SIG Cluster Lifecycle, and therefore we abide by the Kubernetes Community Rules of Conduct, which you can summarize as let's make this a welcoming place, make everybody feel like they can say what they want to, try not to interrupt each other, etc. We don't usually have any issues with this, but just so you know. Um, Yeah, that's it. At the beginning, well, not specifically at this meeting, but in general, if people are here for the first time and just want to introduce themselves, I'll be quiet for a minute and please feel free to unmute and say hello or not if you don't want to.
Oh, hello, guys. Me and Silvio, it's my coworker. We are we are we're working at TOTUS. It's a computer. It's a software house in Brazil. So we we working at we working at cloud area in TOTUS. So we are responsible for Kubernetes distribution by an internal Kubernetes distribution. So Silvio, you can complement something.
It's okay, sir.
That's simple.
Awesome, great. Well, thanks for coming. Um, yeah, and we only have this on the agenda, so we can just jump right into it if we want to talk about the canonical PR. But please feel to interrupt me or anyone else, since there's only a few of us here.
Okay.
So this is yours, right, Victor and Silvio?
Yeah, must be.
Um, you just want to call it to our attention, or do we have stuff we want to talk about in particular?
I can also add to this.
Yeah.
So I had a little chat with I forget who, one of the two of you on Slack. We mentioned last week before, I forget what it was now. We're getting an increase in the number of providers and operating systems that people want us to support within Image Builder. And I personally feel it's getting to a point where I can't, as a maintainer, look after all of those things. I just don't have the capacity to with that many different things. So I think it might be about time. Whether I don't necessarily mean it needs to block this PR, but I think it's a good point to talk about it. I think it might be about time that we come up with some sort of guidelines as to what like minimum requirements that need to be met for new providers and operating systems so that we can ensure that they are supported and maintained going forwards rather than just in the sort of state we were at the moment where some of the providers are very much just a hope it works kind of thing. Like we've seen some issues recently with Proxmox, for example, where it only works in very specific use cases and this kind of thing because none of us as maintainers have a way of maintaining those sections, right? We don't have a way of testing it and this kind of thing. Um, so yeah, I don't necessarily want to block your PR specifically for this, but I think it's a very good point to discuss this as a long-term thing for the project. Just to make it clear.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Well, we've never had very complete end-to-end test coverage, as you probably all know. And then we lost VMware for mostly good reasons because we're switching to new infrastructure and the whole Kubernetes world had to move away from old testing infrastructure. And VMware still hasn't caught up with that. We think that they're going to, but there hasn't been any movement. So right now our testing is pretty minimal, as you can probably tell. We just test some Azure and Google stuff, and we test it kind of blindly on most PRs that change anything significant, but it probably doesn't test, whatever your provider is because it doesn't test most of them. So for better or worse, I mean, I feel like the problem is test coverage. Ideally, we would have much more complete test coverage, and it would be targeted so that if you only changed one provider or added a new provider, we could just test with that. But there's a lot of work involved in working with the CNCF, uh, getting your cloud providers a guest account set up that's essentially paid for. That's a whole political thing. And so anyway, long story short, we don't have very much test coverage. And as Marcus says, most of the stuff that's out there is just hopefully it works because we don't have the bandwidth to test it. Sometimes a PR comes in for QMU or something like that, and I can test it myself by hand locally, and it's not a big pain, so I do just to make sure. But by and large, things are tested. So that's the reality. So we're really just looking for, at this point, can someone test it or can someone be responsible for it, I think. So I feel like it would be sufficient to have an owner's file, the distributed kind of owner's file system that Kubernetes has. If we add a new provider, then maybe you two or someone at least officially says, "Oh, I'm on the hook for support," and we have an email address. I think that would be enough for now. But what do you guys think, Drew and Marcus?
Yeah,
Yeah, I
I
mean,
think.
go on, Marcus,
Sorry.
go on.
I was going to say, I think the only thing there is, correct me if I'm wrong, but Victor and Sylvia, neither of you have a official relationship with Canonical. It's just the fact that you use their platform, so you'd like it to be supported. So this is not necessarily a case of we can have official support from Canonical for their platform in this specific instance. So I don't know how you would feel about that. I don't know whether you'd be okay with taking on that sort of responsibility, is what I'm saying. Like, I don't want to, pile on the work.
Well, and
Go ahead, Drew.
yeah,
Sorry.
go ahead,
So
Drew.
yeah, I mean, kind of two points to make, I guess, is one, yeah, I think if you guys are happy to take on that and be put into the code owners and become kind of responsible for that side of it, what with you contributing it in anyway, in the same way I did with OpenStack, I guess, um, that'd be great. But I guess the wider point here for me is the potential for Packer going away anyway. So do we spend the hours that would be required to write all the testing for all the different cloud providers, or do we just start looking at the option of potentially removing Packer and just having the Ansible run on an endpoint anyway? I'm still working on trying to get a nice nice way of putting that together, because I said I was going to try and come up with that kind of Ansible thing, and whilst I've got it working on my cut down version that we use within Nscale itself, it's not the same as the Kubernetes image builder. It's not got the scope of it, obviously. So yeah, I mean, I'm kind of weighing up that time spent versus benefit gained, I guess. So I guess for me, there's a wider conversation to have around the actual testing itself and whether it's worth spending the hours on the cloud integration. I'd say yes, right now it is, but then if in 1 month we decide, right, now we're going to start removing the Packer element and just going down the Ansible route, is that wasted effort? You see what I mean?
Yeah.
Sorry to throw a curveball in there.
No, it's true, and I wasn't really suggesting that we put a lot of it because we don't have the energy to give, obviously, at this point. I wasn't suggesting that we double down and really work hard to get more E2E coverage because that's not specifically on us. And like you said, it might be diminishing returns. It's entirely possible in the near future that we're just not doing Packer anymore, and so all those tests are irrelevant. But I guess for the time being, it's something we should encourage, but not spend a lot of time on. Uh, I mean, what I'm saying is I'd love it if VMware suddenly came through and said, "Hey, yeah, we have an account and we can test a bunch of stuff," because they represent a fair swath of coverage that would catch things. And so that would be really useful, but I don't know that it's worth firing up new cloud provider integrations for E2E at this point, because like you said, Drew, they may not be relevant soon. Yeah.
So what do you think if we can sponsor uh, infrastructure to support mass inside of image builder? Because we were started to use massively cluster API with mass. So we can ways to sponsor the infrastructure for mass just to help the community to support mass uh, officially in image builder. That I don't know if you think is possible or something like that, because we don't want to make a internal version of mass and maintain this uh, only internally, because we want to share with the community.
Yeah, of course, that totally makes sense. I mean, yeah, getting the infrastructure in, it's not as easy as just putting it into Image Builder, is it? It's another repository where all the testing infrastructure lives. I guess I don't know what Mox and Matt feel about this. From my side, as long as this has been tested enough and you can validate it works, if you're happy to go into the owners file for now, I'm happy to have this kind of merged in. Maybe we, for the next release, put a little bit of documentation together or update the README in some capacity, just to mention that testing would be nice. But I just have it in the back of my head that, Packer is rapidly falling behind in security patches and things like that in our repo. It gives me a very large brain itch from a security perspective. So that there is a chance that if you spend the next, like I say, the next month wrapping up infrastructure that works and allows us to test mass, and then we go, hey, guess what? We're not doing Packer anymore. That was a waste of time for you. I don't want to waste your time either. That's the thing. So I don't know how you guys feel about this going in now as it is. If you guys go in as the owners.
Just to put it out there, like Packer's not going to go away within the next month.
No,
like,
no. I'm
this has been going on for 2 years.
No, I'm absolutely devil's advocate in here. By the way,
yeah, I get what you're saying, but I just wanted to make it clear that like those timelines are much longer.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
But we're all worrying about it.
But I get what you're saying. Yeah,
we've been worrying about it for a while. But
yeah,
I agree with Drew. I mean, I'm okay with
yeah.
because the only practical thing I want to avoid is we put this new support in there, which is great, and then someone from the community starts using it and finds a bug and they report it. I just need to be able to assign that bug to someone other than me because I don't know what.
Absolutely.
So if you guys are willing to be those people, then I'm fine with it.
I mean, that even like just on the best effort, we're not going to hold you to anything like officially or anything. It's, I just say, helping out the community.
Right.
Like if you turn around and say you don't have the time, fine, it can wait. Whoever's dealing with it can then, have to wait. We can only do so much.
Would you be happy with that, Victor and Silvio?
I don't know how to explain, but here we have many ways to test this PR. Because of that, I know, and Victor knows that it works. We know we are not employees of Canonical officially, but I don't know the best way to do this, because we need this to work at TOTS with a version of Canonical Mass and this image builder.
Yeah. I think what we're saying is we're really happy you guys did this, and we'd be willing to merge it if you would be willing to help us, support it, like if problems come up in the future.
Yeah, we can help. We can help. It's very interesting for us to help.
Okay. I think that's all we are talking about here. Yeah.
I mean, again, just for context, that's what happened with me. I put the OpenStack remote one in, and if anything came up around that, then I would generally pick up those issues and try and get PRs in or help someone with the PR if need be and things like that. So that's kind of where I'll step in. Like, I don't know anything about the GCP or Azure stuff, for example, so I'll throw that over the fence to someone who does. So yeah, it is
We
the
have
best
a
effort.
similar. Sorry, I was gonna say we have a similar
No,
sort
go
of
on.
setup with Nutanix and Proxmox. Like there are the
Yeah.
particular people that contributed those are happy to help out when other people come in with bugs or PRs and stuff. So that's all.
That's cool. We can help.
Cool.
Great.
Yeah, I'm happy with that then.
I know one thing I need. I need to improve my English to talk with you. Because
Oh no,
Yeah,
it's fine.
me too. Me too.
We'll just learn. You said Brazil, right? Portuguese then? That's fine.
Yeah, it's
I'm sure.
Brazil.
I'm sure that's an easy language to learn.
Portuguese is not so easy.
Uh,
Native have a little bit difficult to write correctly here.
I struggle enough myself with English. I'm horrendous at learning other languages.
Does the AI companion in Zoom not support translations or anything?
oh yeah.
Yeah, we turn on the translation, the captions.
Oh,
It help a lot.
Okay,
Oh good. Oh
brilliant.
good. I've never tried
That's a
that.
start then, I guess. But yeah, I mean, just back to the original point. If you're happy to help there, then we can absolutely have this merged in and point anything your way if need be.
Yeah. All right. Well, we can just finish our discussion on the PR itself, I guess.
Sure.
Yeah, I just like to make sure that it's in writing somewhere, like in the README or in the owner's file or something, uh, rather than us just remembering. But I think that should be fine.
I don't know if I need to do that, but we can talk in at Slack to if someone can help me to put
Sure,
what we need.
yeah,
sure. Or on the PR.
yeah, no problem.
Okay, or the PR. Okay.
Great. Well,
Yeah, the
once
PL is
again,
probably sorry. As I say, the
yeah,
PL is probably better for the paper trail generally. So yeah, that's probably the best place.
yeah. I was just going to say thank you again for doing all this work and
Yeah.
giving it to the community. It's very
Mm.
much appreciated. Do
So
we have anything else here? Sorry, go ahead.
no, it's just to say thank you for all the help.
We're just trying to keep the lights on here at Image
Yeah.
Builder for the most part.
that's all. It's
Excellent.
over.
Yeah. Do we have anything else?
I actually have a little topic I can discuss.
Go on.
Going back to maybe it was a year ago now when we started looking at or started talking about System D SysX, the stuff that Flatcar is really pushing. I recently had a chance slash required to for something we were doing at work to give it a try with Image Builder. And the context here is I needed to include the NVIDIA runtime within Image Builder, and I needed some way of doing that. And we use Flatcar, and they have a System D SysX already built with this all in, and I was trying to see how I could leverage that for Image Builder. Long story short, I've now got a custom role, custom Ansible role in our abstraction on top of Image Builder that handles installing this NVIDIA runtime as a sysx, does a little bit of modification to it because we needed to change some config files as well, and then produces a static image out the end of it. So we still get the reproducibility of Image Builder. So we get an AMI at the end, we get a Azure, whatever they're called, but able to then leverage the sysx stuff to install things quite nicely in this read-only layer. Unfortunately, the repo is private, so I can't necessarily share it publicly. But if you're interested at all, I can do a screen share and we can have a look at the Ansible role specifically, if that's of interest to probably Matt or Drew more than the rest of you. But yeah, okay, cool. I'll do that.
Yeah.
Oh, I have to request apparently.
All right. I said allow.
Cool. Let's try that again. That one.
Oh, I should stop sharing then.
Are you able to see my screen all right?
Not so far.
No?
Oh, I can.
Oh,
Yeah.
you can? Maybe I'm looking in the wrong
Yep.
place.
Anyway, I'll start talking through. So basically, it's just a single Ansible task, whatever they're called, Ansible, with some defaults. The defaults are not much. They're down here. They're just like the URL for where to get it, and to get the raw file from. So the way that SysX works is you have this raw file that basically contains a file system within it that then gets layered over the existing file system in a read-only manner. And the way that I've handled this is first checking that it doesn't already exist, so that we've not already got it installed. A few checks here for like the architecture and stuff. But the main thing is downloading it from the source. So this is actually the Flatcar's own SysX bakery. Ensuring some directories are created and copying it to the relevant place. So this etc/extensions is automatically read, I guess, by Flatcar at boot and applies any extensions it finds in there. And then I had to do a little bit of tweaking in that I had to do this thing that unmerges the SysX thing in the image in the builder VM, so that I can make changes to it, and then merge again to apply. So basically, when Flatcar boots, it applies systemd sysx and does this file system thing. I had to turn that off and then turn it back on so that it picked up my new extension file, my new raw file. Otherwise, it won't pick it up until the next reboot. And I didn't want to have to reboot multiple times while building. With that done, because that's now applied, I can see those files in my builder image. So I actually take some of the, I make sure that it exists. So one of the files that I know that it creates is this one. Make sure and I'll fail if it hasn't been able to apply that sysx. And then I do some things where I want to override one of the config files for our specific case. So I create a directory that will apply that will work as the dropping configuration, copy across this persistence.conf to this override directory, and then make a small change to that file, which is basically removing this line from it that causes a memory leak in certain scenarios. And then let Image Builder do the rest of its thing and generate the image. So out of the back of that, we then get an AMI that has all of this stuff applied. So all of the things from the systemd sysx is applied as read-only into the file system, ready to go at boot. If we wanted to, we could also then configure it to leverage the auto-updating capabilities that systemd sysx has. So being able to doing in-place updates of things by pulling down new extension files. We don't want that. Like, we want our images to be known what they are. So we've totally avoided that, but that is possible if you want to do it. But yeah, it wasn't quite as janky as I thought it was going to be. It's not great. One of the main problems I had with it is the place where this sysx bakery repo that Flatcar provide. It's a bit weird in that they have a single GitHub release called latest that they keep updating. They keep modifying it when there's new versions of things available. So they have this one latest release that has this big list of assets in, and that's where you grab the files from. I really don't like that, and I've been talking with Flatcar about it and trying to get it a bit more better so that we can have this GitOps based within Giant Swarm. So we want to be able to, when there's a new NVIDIA runtime one, we want Renovate to automatically open a PR to bump the version for us. That's not there yet. It may come eventually, but we shall see. One other thing that I thought, so one of the things that we may end up having to do at Giant Swarm for this, if Flatcar can't make changes to their bakery, is basically build our own bakery for these sort of things so that we can have, for example, NVIDIA runtime built as a system extension for us to then consume within Image Builder. Depending on how that goes, I'm thinking this might actually be something that we could have within upstream Image Builder itself. So have an Image Builder sysx bakery And then these things could potentially be quite easily optionally enabled through config for people to be able to enable things like NVIDIA runtime, or another option that we're looking at Giant Swarm is teleport, having the teleport agent on the node and things like that. We want all those baked into the image. If we can do them as a sysx bakery, that is could potentially be a simple, this is a variable that lists all of the bakery extensions you want to install, and it automatically handles it for you as part of the build. I think that'd be quite nice. But it's still quite early days.
That's really nice. I've just had a quick look through the bakery repo as well, and it's actually quite easy to make.
Yeah.
Layers, for want of a better description of what these are, I guess.
Yeah. It's like
Not layers,
Yeah,
but
yeah. They're like
Squash
file
FS,
system
I
layers.
think.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it looks like you just do a make squash FS, essentially. Or
Yeah. Yeah,
make
they have
FS
a
of
bunch
some
of
kind.
tooling to help you with it as
Yeah.
well.
Is the stuff in the bakery like architecture or distro dependent? Do you have to make like if I want to install NVIDIA on uh, ARM 64, that requires a
Architecture, yes.
yeah, but
Um,
it's distro neutral ideally, right? Like the
I
NVIDIA
mean, I think
sysx
the
stuff
SysX
should
Bakery is from Flatcar,
Yeah.
yeah.
so it will work on Flatcar for sure. Um, Flatcar have been doing a lot of work to make the SysX systemd sysx stuff available on other distros as well. So I think Fedora has it now, and a
I
few
think it's in
others have
Ubuntu now as
support.
well.
Think yeah. Last I spoke to them, it was being worked on for Ubuntu. I wasn't sure if it got released or not.
It's got a man page for
Cool.
2504.
Sounds
So
good.
There you go.
maybe this year.
I think there may be some potential hiccups with paths app. I don't know.
Okay.
Because we just use Flatcar at Giant Swarm, that is as far as I've got. But I was able to get this thrown together within a day, which was quite nice. Well, after spending a couple of days talking to Flatcar about their ridiculous latest release, but besides that, but
No,
it's actually quite a nice mechanism.
yeah, it looks pretty straightforward. Like I'm just looking at the NVIDIA one, for example, and it is just literally cloning a few things from the NVIDIA GitHub, does some stuff with your package. I didn't know Flatcar used that. I don't use Flatcar, so I don't know. Create some systemd files, container configs. Yeah, it's
One of the
looks
things
quite
it
nice.
can do.
Yeah,
One of the things it
yeah,
can do that Flatcar is really pushing that doesn't really make sense for image builder, in my opinion, is you can define this systemd config file with all of your extensions in and like points to the URL, and then
Mhm.
on boot of Flatcar or whatever, it fetches the extensions at
Yeah.
runtime and layers them on.
That'd be
I don't
nice.
like that. That's not an
Oh, do you not
approach
like
that I
it?
want to take. Oh, I hate that. No, because
Okay.
an image should be ready to go at boot, in
Be
my
there
opinion.
already.
Like,
Yeah, I
you should
suppose. Yeah.
like it's the whole point of image builder, right? You have a known image that you are going to run with your known binaries and configuration and stuff.
Yes.
I don't want things to happen at boot.
I guess in my head, that's the process we'd use within Image Builder, not after the fact.
Yes,
Yeah.
potentially we could do
Yeah.
that. The only thing I have there is like reproducibility, because you're just randomly grabbing stuff from URLs, especially the fact that they're using this latest. Really, that's the bit that's
Oh,
really
yeah.
like
Yeah, you want to
fucking
avoid that in general if you
yeah.
can.
Which is why I
Yeah.
think at least at Giant Swarm we're going to be building our own bakery
Yeah.
eventually.
Okay.
And if that ends up working nicely, I think it's probably something I'm going to suggest porting to Image Builder upstream itself, if
Yeah.
there's no objections.
I can find some time. I might have a play around with this in Ubuntu when
I mean,
can.
I've been trying to do
Yeah.
this for the past year now, and I've just kept putting it
Yeah.
off. So
It is
Yeah,
time,
I
isn't
like
it?
this approach because so I obviously I work for Azure and we're all paranoid about our startup time because Azure's slow. Starting VMs is slow. And so like this is something we pay a lot of attention to. So the flat car people are using sysx now in Azure, but the kind of simple traditional way, which is at runtime.
yeah.
So and we don't want to do that in general. We want to minimize everything should
So
be there
like
in the image because it's already
we
slow
have to
enough to
deal with
start a
very
VM.
quick. Sorry, I was gonna say we have to deal with very quick scaling for some of our customers, like
Yeah.
within seconds, sort of thing. And having anything happen at boot is a no-go. Like
Yeah.
that's lost sales if that's the case.
Yeah. So this is pretty interesting because I hadn't thought of using sysx and then baking that into the image, but why not, right?
So yeah, well, that's what I was talking to them on Slack about, basically using it as a package manager. is the way that because they're really nicely packaged as these extension files. As long as there's more tooling around it that allows you to get them as packages in the way that we need, I think that's a nice way of doing it.
Mm-hmm. Pretty cool.
Yeah.
Oh, I love this. It's good. Well, there goes my weekend.
Do report back. I'd be interested to see how you get on.
All right.
Nice one,
Any
Marcus.
other
Thank you.
SysX talk? Anything else we want to talk about? All right. Going once, going twice. Let's call it a meeting.
Cool.
I'll see you on Slack and see you here again in a couple of weeks.
Take care. See you later.
Bye.
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 Later.